Hi, so this is A.R.S.E, our Random Stoner Explains. Today we're doing 3i Atlas. My source was A.R.E.B.org. 3i Atlas was discovered on July 1st, 2025. After some reevaluation of the data from other sources, earliest detection would have been November 11th, 2024, which would be a little over a year ago. And that was at a distance of 17 AU, meaning that at that point, on November 11th, 2024, it was 17 times the distance from our sun than our Earth is. And when it was detected on July 1st, 2025, it was 4.5 AU, which would be 4.5 times the distance. And at the moment, today's October 30th, 2025, it's exiting perihelion, which would have been yesterday the 29th, which means that at that point it was its closest it's going to get to our sun, which was at a distance of 1.38 AU, which was a little bit farther than what our planet is from the sun. But it's on the other side of the sun, so at the moment it's not able to be observed. Speaking of the observations, there's been 187 images captured. They were captured from June 15th to July 20th, 2025. And as far as I know, 6 have been released, which I found on A.R.E.B.org. Also, all of those images were 30-second exposures, and the only clear image that has been released or leaked from the Japan Space Agency, and like I said, that was a leak. The brightening began in earnest at 6.5 AU, which was on March 8th, give or take. After it passed Mars and NASA turned off the Mars observatory, well, I mean, there was a possibility of observing it from the Mars, but we have a Mars right now, from, there's a Mars orbiter right now. Anyways, though, NASA didn't release those images, and also none of the other images it has. It also activated the planetary defense system, which is something that it does when they think that there is a near-Earth object that might hit our planet, which is, I guess, there's a possibility after it exits perihelion, the sun's gravity might change its course, and there is a possibility of it swinging around and smacking into us. There's a possibility it's coming from the same area as a WOW signal. For those of you unaware of the WOW signal, that was a radio telescope signal captured in 1977, on August 15th, 1977. And it was a radio signal that came from the same region of space that we believe 3i Atlas originated from. And there's unconfirmed reports that 3i Atlas is currently giving off radio signals or pulses. But like I said, that's unconfirmed. NASA's not really saying anything. And I said the only confirmed image that I've seen was a leak from the Japan Space Agency. Everything else is being hidden, I guess is the best way to put it, from the public. From September 11th to October 21st, 3i Atlas was observable from 3 different space-based platforms. And those are the images that I saw on A.R.E.B.org, which was 6 images showing different degrees, different spectrums of light and stuff, along those lines. I think there were 6 different spectrums used in total, 2 from each source, I believe. The interesting thing about that is that as it approached the sun, it increased by a factor of 9 across all the spectrums. the brightness as it was approaching the sun. It also is made of an alloy that we believe, from what we've been able to gather from the emissions, the spectrography of the emissions. It seems to be a nickel alloy, which is on Earth anyway, something that can only be manufactured, which is, again, pretty weird. Some of the other weird shit, sorry, my notes, I dropped them. The tail is facing the wrong direction, meaning that if it is a comet, or normal comet, as it approaches the sun, the ice melts and there's a tail that understandably faces away from the sun as it approaches the sun. The A.R.S.E, on the other hand, seems to have an emission that's facing towards the sun and appears to be working almost like a braking system, which again is unconfirmed. It has its own light source, which the non-alien technology explanation would be that the emissions, as it approaches the sun, the emissions from the A.R.E are colliding amongst themselves and combusting and creating a light source. Again, like I said too, it's also possibly made of an alloy, which would mean it was likely built. And so what do I really think? I did smoke, because this is a random stoner explains, before I recorded this. And is it aliens? I mean, hopefully. I think it is. I mean, I hope it is. You know, because there's only two answers to that question. Either we're alone and there's nothing else out there, which would be a waste of space. You know, the universe is pretty big. And we're not alone, which means that there's other civilizations out there that may be intelligent. You know, maybe with enough curiosity to look for us as we're looking for them. I mean, if it did send a wow signal, and this is an if, of course, that would mean that it was possibly used as like the same way a bat would use sonar, meaning that the comet is not a comet and it's a probe of some kind, and that those radio signals that it's emitting is kind of working like a geolocation, the same way a bat would use its sonar capabilities. I mean, that's the possible explanation if both the wow signal and 3i Alice are from the same area or source, or if 3i Alice is the source of the wow signal. So yeah, I mean, I would hope it would be aliens, because I would want to smoke some weed with them, ask them what they know. You know, this is kind of irrelevant, but I write poetry as a hobby, and so like I've always been curious, is there art on other planets? Like, do aliens dream? Do they hope? Do they create art? Like I said, I mean, it doesn't have to be poetry. You know, before I get too carried away, that's, you know, like I said, if we are alone, that's a lot of wasted space out there. So until next time, namaste. My next video will probably be on something I call forensic mythology, which is the explanation of where the myths that we know come from and what they might be actually based on. Alright, good night, y'all.